What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Six Man Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Dunn. Obviously, it's been a little bit here since I released an episode. I coach high school basketball, so things get a little bit busy during the season. But now, the season being over, I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. On today's episode, I'm joined by Dylan Goodman. Dylan plays Division II at Franklin Pierce University in New Hampshire. Dylan's coming off a really good season. This episode was recorded prior to the beginning of the season, so a few things have changed between now and then, but really good interview with Dylan. Excited for you guys to hear it. Let's get to that interview. All right, I'm here with Dylan Goodman. Dylan, thanks for coming on the pod, man. What's going on?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So to start, I want you to talk about your beginnings in basketball. How did you first start playing? What age did you first start playing at? And who first put the ball in your hands?
I started playing at 5 years old. I would say it was a combination of a bunch of different people. I would say probably my family as a whole, I would say collectively were the people that put a basketball in my hands. The first person to put a basketball in my hands actually was my babysitter growing up, who I still talk to all the time. And she was a very, very big influential part of my life. And then my dad kind of took the reins from there in elementary school. And my mom was always super supportive, but with her, it was always academics first. My older brothers played, so they were kind of my driving force in understanding like what it takes to be really good and what it takes to like really want it. So I guess it was a combination. I would say my family, but a combination of all of them.
Do you think that having like support from your family and like older brothers, they kind of, could kind of show you the way? Do you think that helped you become a better basketball player?
I think 100%. I think when I was 7 years old, my oldest brother went to college to play basketball in Minnesota, and then he ended up transferring to Bard College in upstate New York. And just like watching the work that he did and watching what it took to be good and like be great. And he also played at LuHi and had a really good high school career and won 2 state championships against some really, really good basketball players. He played Kyle Anderson in high school, and like he was able to be really good, and it was really cool to see. And my middle brother, unfortunately, had to retire when he was around 16 because of shoulder injuries. But like watching his work and watching like what they did to be really good, really just instilled it in me that like, okay, like it's about the work.
So talk a little bit about your experience playing high school basketball at LuHi, like you mentioned, out on Long Island. What was that experience like for you?
Words don't describe it sometimes. Just being around high-level guys every day. From the second I stepped foot into LuHi my freshman year of high school, I was thrown into workouts with guys that were the best players in the country at the time. My first day at LuHi, I worked out with Zed Key, who played at Ohio State, and Andre Curbelo, who played at Illinois, and Jalen Celestine, who played at Cal and then Baylor and now Cincinnati, and Drisa Traore, who played at St. John's. Like those guys just became guys that I was really close with. Tyler Stevenson Moore also. Just guys, like just understanding the work that it took to be that great. And it really, really stuck with me from the time I was a freshman to the time I was a senior. I wanted to work. I knew I wasn't as athletic or I wasn't 6'8" like Zed, but like, so I understood that it had to take the work that I needed to do to get to that level. And so it was, and then my junior year in high school, we played 3 games because of COVID, but I like to argue that was probably the best LuHi team. Other people will disagree with me. I think we had 11 or 12 scholarship players on that team. Ryan Dunn is in the NBA. Like that team was incredible. Then my senior year, I finally had a full season, and it was a really, really cool experience being able to like go down to the Arby's Classic and win that, and just kind of be a nationally ranked team and just play a bunch of high level guys that are now in great spots. Like it's unbelievable the relationships I've been able to build through that.
I'm sure it's a pretty obvious answer, but do you think like being in that environment and playing against those level dudes like help prepare you for like college and the next level?
100%. I just think understanding what it took to be in a practice every day with those guys and like just the intensity. Like I've said this before, and it's funny. Some of the most intense practices that I've had in my career were in high school. Just like the intensity that Coach Buck created in that environment, and just like the level of wanting it. it definitely translates to how I went about my college career and like the practices and understanding the work that it took to be done in practice and outside of practice.
So coming out of high school, talk a little bit about like your recruitment process and what it was like for you, like getting in front of coaches and contacting coaches, stuff like that. Like what was the process like? How did you like decide which school you wanted to go to?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit weird because of COVID. I didn't really have the best recruitment coming out. I had some opportunities, and it was a weird recruitment. I got a lot more before COVID, and then it was weird. Like coaches weren't really not a lot of coaches saw us our junior year. I decided not to play AAU my sophomore year because of COVID, and my junior year a little bit. I just decided it was best for me and my family to like try to keep COVID out of my house. And it affected my recruitment a little bit, but I always understood that it was for the greater good that I went about it that way and my family went about it that way. But so then my senior year, I had some opportunities, ended up at Maritime, battled through an ankle injury my first year at Maritime. So that was a bit of a tough situation, but it was, I ended up there. I chose it. I just academically, it fit me. I liked the coach. And it was close to home.
Was that I forgot that coach's name. Is he at Buff State now?
Yes, he is.
The same guy?
Coach
okay.
Mike Birkin, yeah.
Okay. I went to like a coach's clinic last year, and he was like one of the speakers, like right before he took over at Buff State, and he had some pretty cool stuff to say.
Yeah, really good basketball mind. Knows what he's talking about. Like, good guy that's gonna be great in the basketball world.
Yeah. So, like, talk a little bit about your experience at Maritime. Like, obviously, like you said, like battling through the injury and stuff. And also, isn't Maritime like a semi like military style school?
Yeah. So I was in the civilian side of the school.
Okay.
I had gotten there. I hurt my ankle in June, and I couldn't walk for like 3 months. Damn. And then I came back like kind of out of shape, and I was not really in my best place to play. I couldn't push off my left foot for like 4 months. So like minutes were sparing, and like just like times I could play were sparing. Like I just didn't feel comfortable out there. Like I just didn't feel like I was me. The school itself was great. I mean, I was close to home. I was able to go home. I was able to see my parents a lot, and like battling through that ankle injury really helped me. And like I was in the civilian side of the school. It was a really, really good academic part of the school. Didn't really like interacted with the military kids a lot, but it's not like super military like it is at West Point or Army. Yeah. They're just kids with goals and aspirations, and like a lot of them were on my team. And honestly, some of the people I met at Maritime are some of my close friends today that like I'm hoping to be able to catch a game at some point this year and like go back. The new coach DeMarco Barnes is doing a really good job over there.
So talk about the process of deciding to transfer, like what led you to that decision, and what were your options when you did decide to transfer?
Yeah, so one of my high school teammates had played for Coach Brent Owen at Eastern New Mexico, Jackson Coral, who lived with me in high school, from Canada, and he had told me that the staff was going over to Lenore-Rhine, and I had been in the portal. I just felt like it was time for me to get away from home a little bit, and pursue what I like really wanted to pursue, trying to experience something new. It kind of just happened right away. I reached out to him. He reached out back to me. I went down for a visit, and I essentially committed on the spot. Really liked what Coach Owen had to say. He reminded me a lot of Coach John Buck that I played for in high school. That was probably and still is like my driving force and like I would say mentor in the game of basketball, and a lot of aspects of life. But the school was great. It was beautiful. It was 45 minutes outside of Charlotte. It was really, really nice. I saw it as a great opportunity to be able to play in a really high level environment and around people and experience something new.
What was like the biggest difference, or some of the biggest differences you saw between like making the jump to D2 from D3? Not only in terms of like play style, but also just like the culture difference, D2 to D3.
Intensity. We started, first off, you start 2 months earlier. at D2, we started I want to say Illinois Ryan last year. I believe we started August 29th. We were in individuals and in practice every day. And it just how hard guys are working and understanding that you may be really skilled, but the guys that are there's guys that are more skilled than you. There's guys that are more athletic than you. There are guys that are older than you, and there are guys that are more experienced than you. And being in that environment, and we played till April. So I was with these guys from August to April, and that was really, really grueling for a lot of us. Just every day, just being trying to be an everyday guy. It turned into, it became fun. But it was a really, really good experience, and understanding that that jump was really important to me. At first it was tough because everybody wants to play, everybody wants to be the guy that goes out there. But eventually I understood that, all right, we're 29-6. Guys are doing things out there that we're winning games. I can't say anything, I'm glad to be part of this, and I'm glad to learn from this.
You had said that you had kind of wanted to get away from home, but what was that experience like actually being, not in New York anymore? Now you're down in North Carolina. Was there a little bit of an adjustment period for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to one of my teammates that was from New York. We knew of each other. Zaire Wells, he plays at Oakland now. He was also from New York, so I kind of I had that. But a lot of us were from a lot of different areas, so it didn't really affect me as much. But North Carolina, it's a different place, especially where Illinois Ryan is, Hickory. It's kind of out in comparative to where I am now. They're both kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it was a different experience. The people down there were different. I was eating different foods. I was around a lot of different people. People were definitely friendlier, I'd say, but it was I enjoyed being around new people, and I enjoyed being around what North Carolina had to offer. And that was a really cool experience.
Did you see any differences in the play style of basketball between New York and North Carolina?
Yeah, it depended on who we played, to be honest. Illinois Ryan specifically, I saw a lot of differences in terms of we just didn't it was a lot of post game. Okay. We had a 7-3 kid that scored a lot in the post, and we had other bigs that were really effective in the post. So it was just a different style of basketball that I played at LuHi and that I played with at Maritime. So it took a little bit for me to adjust to. In terms of all right, I've always been a shooter. I've always been someone that was coming off of screens or just catching and shooting. And I have to understand that I might go a half hour in practice without getting a catch and shoot three, and I have to be ready to hit it when I catch it. We didn't shoot a lot of threes last year. I think we were bottom 10 in the country in 3-point rate. But we won a lot of games. So just kind of understanding my role in that, and understanding that someone's they're doing something right, you know what I mean? And understanding that.
So I've heard a lot of guys say especially if you your role as a shooter, that kind of you mentioned, if you go in the game, you might have 2 shots to take it, 2 attempts to take a three. And if you miss both of them, or you miss a defensive assignment and you're also not making shots, you might come right out of the game right away. Mm-hmm. So how do you mentally and kind of physically prepare yourself for that type of role?
Physically, I don't like to I don't like to be arrogant, but I'm a gym rat. Everyone who's ever been around me always I try to imagine every game shot that I can get and replicate it in workouts and replicate it before games. Mentally, it's tough because you never really know when that shot is going to come, and you just always have to be mentally prepared when your number's called. I've always been able to. I always try to do some sort of breathing exercise before the game, or do some sort of just living in the moment meditation type moment to understand that all right, I need to go out there and I need to be on my game, but I also need to appreciate this.
So you've kind of already alluded to it a little bit, but talk about just your overall experience at Illinois Ryan. I know you guys went on a run in the NCAA tournament, made it all the way to the Elite Eight. So just kind of talk about what that was like. The whole you mentioned the grueling part of the whole year, but actually being in the NCAA tournament and stuff like that. What was that experience like for you?
It was really, really cool. got a lot of fun memories, especially winning the SAC championship. That was really cool. But going into the first round of the tournament, we had a 10 a.m. game against Augusta, which was insane. It was there was Columbus. We played at Columbus State. They hosted the regional, and the 10 a.m. game was supposed to be at noon, but they moved it up because there was some storm going on in Georgia. So we played at 10. And it was like, it felt like AU. We woke up at 6 and had breakfast, and that was my first experience in the tournament. But it was cool. It was we won that game against Augusta. Really good coach at Augusta. And then we played a team in USC Aiken in the second round who earlier in the season had beat us in a scrimmage by, I believe, 15. And we rallied together. We were down in the first half, and then we rallied together and won that game. And then the Sweet 16 was it was a really interesting experience to me, because I saw at that point in the season, you're banded together with guys that you had been with since August, and like you're around everybody. I mean, I went home for 8 days over Christmas and like 20 hours over Thanksgiving. So like I had been in North Carolina for like 8 months straight with nothing but basketball in school. And so trying to just do everything you can to motivate yourself. It was a really interesting thing. My coach at Lenore Ryan is very faith-based, as well as my high school coach was. And the night before the Sweet 16 game, we were in I believe it was a Longhorn Steakhouse. And this woman just out of nowhere came up to us with like she was like 91 years old, and with like a bunch of crosses from Bethlehem that she wanted to give out to us, and like mini Bibles. And at the time, like, we didn't really think much of it. We're like, what's going on? Like, I kind of want to eat my steak. What's going on here? And then she tells us these stories about, like, how she had near-death experiences, and we all, like, get on the bus and, like, forget about it. And then, like, we went to sleep. We woke up. We were getting ready for the Sweet 16 game, and my head coach reminded us of it. And we were up 20 in the first half, just clicking on a lens. And they ended up coming back, and they were at the line with, like, I think like 0.5 seconds left, and we were up 1. They had a dude who just like knocked down free throw shooter. He makes the first one. Where it's kind of getting a little scared and frightened, and he missed the second one, and like didn't miss. He had missed a lot of free throws, and it was kind of just like, all right, like, and we ended up going on to win in overtime. And it was like, to me, it was like, and we talked about it in the locker room afterwards, just how like things felt that way. Things felt like it was kind of meant for us to be here. So yeah, and then the Elite Eight was incredible. I want to say we left like 5 days before our first game. We played, we drove through Tennessee to get to Indiana. My head coach at Lenore Ryan was from Indiana, he coached at Southern Indiana. So he wanted to like drive through, and so we practiced at the University of Tennessee because Coach Rick Barnes was a LR alum. So we practiced there, and then we drove up. We stayed at the Victoria National Golf Course, and then practiced at Southern Indiana, University of Evansville, and then the Elite Eight Arena. And then we kind of just, like, the Elite Eight experience was really cool. We were all the teams staying in one hotel, banquet dinners, breakfasts, just being around everyone. It was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, that's some awesome stories in there, dude. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So what part of your game do you think has improved the most since becoming a college basketball player?
Honestly, my passing. I think just being around high level guys and seeing the game in a different way, and seeing stuff that's not always there and trying to get something through, I think it was just the best thing that I improved upon. That, and like just being in the best shape I can be in. I think just trying to be the highest IQ player out there is kind of how I found my niche, especially here at Franklin Pierce, and just understanding the game at a different level. I mean, a lot of guys have helped me with that from high school and college, and a lot of guys, I credit a lot of guys to just working out with them and just watching them play to how I play now.
So you mentioned being at Franklin Pierce now. So what led to your decision to transfer to Franklin Pierce? Like, what stood out about Franklin Pierce that made you want to go there, not only like in terms of basketball, but like the school itself?
I had entered the portal after after last year, after the Elite Eight, I kind of told myself I wanted to be a little bit closer to home, which kind of sounds funny. It was just kind of like, didn't really understand where I wanted to be. I entered the portal, heard from a couple schools, D2 and D3. Coach Ruonk was the first person to call me, and we were on the phone for about an hour talking about rebounding and just what it takes to win. Then I came on a visit here, and there's like a beautiful lake on campus. It's in the mountains. It's like really out in the sticks, and just like kind of not what I'm used to. It's like the closest Chipotle is 35 minutes away. So it's like, it's you really got to love what you're doing to be up here, and you got to love basketball. But it stuck out to me. Coach Ruan stuck out to me. He's a really established coach, really knows what he's doing, and just being able to come here and be a guy that affects the game at a level, and just like being able to finally reach that standpoint of what I've always wanted to reach. And he was going to let me achieve that. And so that was really cool. And playing in the NE10 and having a lot of games closer to home. I mean, I have the closest game I played to home last year was like Virginia, and I have 5 games in New York this year. So like Adelphi's 20 minutes from my house. So like my parents are going to be able to come to a lot of games.
That's awesome. I'm sure that's going to be a great experience.
Yeah.
So obviously like the season's starting up now. What are some of like your individual goals as well as team goals for the upcoming season?
As team goals, I always like to go first. We want to turn things around. It's no secret that they haven't had a great 2 years. We have an entirely new team. I believe 15 new guys, and guys that have played in different situations and different scenarios at different like high level environments. One of my teammates, Anthony Parker, came from Lees McRae and put up 11 points a game. That's a good D2. One of my teammates, Cavante Williams, who grew up in Queens, like played around New York and JUCOs, and is very talented. Like a lot of different teammates. Jalen Duff from Buffalo, just guys that have been around high level players and in high level environments, and just like taking the understanding of like what it takes to win. And I think we can make noise in the NE10. That's the goal, is to just take one game at a time and be better. I mean, everybody's like, all right, let's rush let's make the tournament. Let's do this, do that. But let's just take one game at a time, and let's win every game one game at a time. And let's turn this into a place where like people don't want, I mean, the gym it's small, but it can get really loud in there, and they've had success in the past. And I think it's something that we start winning, people are going to come to games and we can make noise. And I think it's very possible. I think we have a really good group of guys, and I've been around good group of guys before, and I know what it looks like.
I think that's one of like the cooler things about like the new transfer portal era and like the transfer portal rules is like, I feel like you could turn over a program way faster now. And like you said, like get like your type of culture guys in there a lot quicker than you used to be able to. So it's way easier to kind of right the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are some of your individual goals for the upcoming season?
Honestly, just get better every day. I'd love to just look back at my college career and say that I accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish, and like hitting shots and winning games. Honestly, I've never been an individual goal type of person. I've always been a culture type of person, and someone that like is going to go in and do whatever it takes to win. In high school, especially, I was a captain my senior year, surrounded by a bunch of Division I guys, as well as I'm a captain here. But I'm always willing to do whatever it takes to win. And if that means sacrificing my own shots, I'm capable of that. If that means just playing the game the right way and getting other people involved, I'm capable of that. But I'd love to be able to look back on my college career and say like I was a big part of turning something around.
Do you have any aspirations to ever coach after you're done playing? Because just kind of from talking to you for 20-ish minutes here, it seems like you'd be a great coach.
I've thought about it. I've kind of been around the working world for a little bit. All 4 of my family members are professionals. Both my parents are attorneys, and my brother worked in banking for a while, and then my older brother works in sales at Amazon. So I've never I've always just thought my path was to go into like the workforce, and I've had a bunch of internships in banking and in marketing, and I've thought about coaching a lot. I coach AAU for a program Level Up out of New York. Jesse Winter runs it. And I do enjoy it. I do enjoy coaching, but I also understand that it's really hard it's a grind. You have to, you have to really constantly love it, and really constantly you have to be on the road. And it's a lot of convincing. And I just don't know if I don't know if that's the path in my life to go down that way. I always joke. One of my best friends is, Kevin Moriarty. He works for Tyler Ralph in Texas. High level NBA trainer, really, really good guy. He's my trainer as well, but he lives in Texas, so he kind of just sends me workouts nowadays. Yeah. I always told him that if he decided to stop training and coach, that I would coach with him. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Well, if you ever do decide to coach, I'm sure you'd be great at it, just from kind of picking your brain a little bit about like setting culture and stuff like that.
Appreciate that.
So last question I have for you, Dylan, same question I asked, last question I asked all my guests. And obviously, like, you're still in your playing career, so it might be a little bit of a tough question. But if you could go back in time and give your younger self advice in terms of basketball, what would it be?
I would say a couple things. Enjoy the process. It's really hard it's so easy to get lost in things. And I wasn't perfect last year, Lenore Ryan. Like, I was frustrated with playing time. I was frustrated with like exterior things that were going on in my life, and I didn't enjoy how cool it was to be at the Elite Eight. And just like be present. I would say, like, throughout my life, I've always been looking at the next thing, and always been looking at what can I do to fix my situation, as opposed to just in like finding the good in the situation and finding like my niche in every possible way, and just like, how can I make this experience really positive? I would say that, and I would say just control what I can control. Enjoy the things around you, and control the situations that you can control. I can't control how much I play. I can't control the coach's opinion on me. I can't control this, but I can control how hard I play. I can control how much I work out, and I can control like how much the people around me like do the people around me like me. You know what I mean? I can't control that, but I can control the output of what I put into that. Like, I can control, like, am I being a good person? Am I being positive to be around? And I would say just always be someone who, and I've worked on that here a lot, like always be someone who comes in every day with the same energy and just being a good person to be around.
Very well said. All right, Dylan, thanks so much for coming on the pod, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Dylan for coming on the podcast today, and thanks to all of you for continuing to tune in and support. If you could please like, follow, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow on Instagram at the Six Man Podcast, as well as all their socials. Excited to start getting more content out again. Thanks again.